Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee or a delicious menu item while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Come by and say hello to Maui. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
And good evening, everybody. I am R.J. Carter in the washed-out flesh here of the former Critical Blast Caves, where I have returned for a night. Still works, apparently. It's just not as prettily decorated as it used to be. We have power, we have light, and we have internet. So we are good to go to come at you tonight, live streaming with more crowdfunded comics. Tonight we are talking with Joshua Plack, whom you've met before on this channel with Eudaimonia. This time we are going to an entirely different era and an entirely different setting with NOIRLEM. Joshua, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
I'm good, sir. Thanks for having me back.
Glad to have you here. So this is quite a departure from the setting and the themes that we were experiencing with Eudaimonia. What led you down this particular path?
Well, temporally, this is the same era. My two favorite literary literary periods of history, the kind of artistic movements, was World War I and the Harlem Renaissance, which they were basically taking place at the same time. We're just on the other side of the world now, in Harlem, New York.
That is true. I guess I was thinking World War I was more like 1911, and we were in the 20s here, but.
Well, the literature would be in the 20s.
Yeah.
What was written after?
And you had more of a sort of a dreamscape exploration with Eudaimonia, where this one looks more like it's definitely more grounded in real world, unless there are pages I haven't seen yet, which would take this off in an entirely new direction.
No, it's a hard-boiled mystery.
Have you written mysteries before?
This is going to be my first time writing one, but I've read and experienced through media about as many as you could find with a person.
Yeah, I used to really get into the Sherlock Holmes books when I was a kid. The unabridged versions, not the kidded down versions. So I found those fascinating. But to write a mystery. And I've written books before. I have a problem writing mysteries because I'm like, how do I plant clues? Because as soon as I know that what I've planted is a clue, I'm like, well, that's obvious. Everybody's going to know that's a clue because I know it's a clue. How do you put your clues into your story without giving away easily who your killer is?
So I think that for a good mystery, there needs to be some kind of edge to it. If the killer is just somebody doing it for some, straight up run of the mill reason, you lose a little bit of bite to your mystery. So I think there needs a little bit of that, almost like campiness, like bordering on the verge of like a little bit silly, like, oh, this person did this for this, so once you have your kind of a little bit strange villain and a little bit strange motivation, as you go back and you just start filling in the blanks with, character moments and world building and all that, you can find these little spots where to kind of point in that direction subtly, so that when the reader gets to the end of the story and they have that kind of aha moment, they think back to all of the things that pointed toward it. So when they go and reread it again, they can keep an eye out for those things, and they'll stick out to the reader the second time.
Yeah. Now, has anybody at any time, and probably not, because first of all, the campaign's only a couple of days old, and second of all, you're in a crowdfunding sort of environment and in a corner of the market where these questions won't come up. So I'll ask the damn question. What the hell makes you think you can write a leading black male character, you white male cis whatever you are thing, kind of? Did I say that right? I don't know if I got everything in or not.
Sure. I guess like the statement I've heard over and over again is, if you want to see something exist, if you want there to be a new character, why not make one?
Yes.
And that's basically what I did. Mysteries as an archetype don't have that many black protagonists. And when you do see them, they tend to be more on the action-oriented front. So like Shaft is a detective, but you wouldn't say that Shaft and Sherlock Holmes are anything like one another.
No.
So whereas I could name for you a female detective duo that are gardeners, and they use their knowledge of gardening to solve mysteries, a black male detective that's about how common they are. So it was just an archetype of character that I wanted to see something exist. The Harlem Renaissance is one of my favorite literary genres, so it's something I have volumes of knowledge about. And so I just thought that would be like, peanut butter and chocolate together. Excuse the expression.
It definitely works. And you read the driest material and pull adventure out of it. I was watching you last night while I was driving, slowly and carefully, but on my phone. And you were showing Will was asking what were you reading right now, and you brought up this giant volume of economics. I was like, it's like, really, that's your pleasure reading for right now. And
yeah, I mean, I can tell you that sorry, it's hard to talk without spoiling things. The twist at the end, the motivation for the villain that we find out at the end, was inspired by a book on psychological marketing tactics that came out in the 1950s. So yeah, I draw a lot of inspiration from a lot of different things.
So that wouldn't have been a subliminal marketing book, would it?
Maybe I just gave away the master plan of the villain.
Oh no, because I've been looking for a book that somebody mentioned to me existed one time when I was in high school. So that's how long ago this was. It's 80s. Might have been this book. It was a book called The Clam Plate Orgy.
No.
Yeah, well,
go on.
But it was just this advertisement that the book used this as an example and then built a bunch of stuff around it. But it was a plate of clams that this restaurant had used, and they were a very successful restaurant. And if you looked into the plate, drawn into it were all these sexual images that once you saw them you couldn't unsee them. The guy, it was actually a forensics competition because I was a geek. I wasn't in band. I did speeches and monologues and stuff. And this guy from another school gave his, and he ended up saying, he ended on the note about examining. If you don't think everybody does this, including the government, you need to examine Abraham Lincoln's beard a little bit more next on the $5 bill. and they've printed it differently a bunch of times since then. But if you find old $5 bills and you look at the beard on Abraham Lincoln in white, the white parts, you see it's almost like Ethan Van Sciver did another X-Men cover. The letters SEX are going across in his beard.
No, this book was actually written by a guy who was like an ad agency guy in his youth, and he would do these really elaborate campaigns where he would stage searchlight parties in New York City and have everybody dress in a certain color and smoking some brand of cigarettes. And this event would simultaneously sell the brand of cigarettes and sell the color on the dresses, because the companies that he worked for were about to put out a new line of dresses of that color. And then in his later years, he ended up working for the U.S. government to do all kinds of like clandestine advertising campaigns, about in South American countries to provoke revolts. Like, he had like the wildest life.
Wow. Okay. Now I'm going to, that's going to be listed in the bibliography of this book, I hope.
Yeah.
Because that does sound like a fun book to dig into. This is, being a mystery, this isn't going to be an arc, I guess. So this is going to be a one and done, or do you have other adventures planned for these characters?
So it's a one arc book in the sense that like the mystery has to end. Like, I don't want a bunch of angry readers wanting to know why everything was left, for to be continued. But the book does end in a to be continued, because there is another arc, and that is the arc of the two main characters, and they're teaming up, they're coming together, the dynamics between them, and how their relationship professionally will continue on into the next book. Because I think I have a really interesting dynamic set up between the two.
Yeah, your character, Coleman, I know he's a detective, but he very much put me in the mind of Mr. Tibbs from In the Heat of the Night. And then to have your book launch on the same weekend that Sidney Poitier passes was.
Yeah, that was a bummer. I was on stream when I saw that.
Yeah, it was ironic to say this, because I was going to like grab a clip of him saying they called me Mr. Tibbs and use that as sort of an intro on the piece. I'm like, yeah, it might be bad taste now, maybe not.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and take a look at the campaign. Because you've done very well on it in a very short period of time. You've had 2 days? Was it a 31 or 30-day campaign? I don't know what they give you.
You know what? That was really annoying. It was literally, it said 30 because my plan was launch on a Friday, end on a Sunday, and it said 30 days, and I hit click, and it said your campaign has 31 days left, and so now it ends on a Monday.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that is annoying because
and you can't change that either.
No, you can't. But, you've done 5 campaigns, and you're 417% of $500. And let's be honest, you need way more than $500 to do this book, right? That's just that seems like some psychological advertising there itself.
Yeah. No, it's just I think it's like a personal taste thing when you run a campaign, because it's like if let's say you put your campaign at $5,000, right, and you get off to a rough start. Now you have people looking at your campaign and they see like $80 out of 5,000. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't think that that's a campaign that's probably going to make it. And so it's like, well, might as well move on to the next one.
Yeah, no. Why tie up my money in here for a month if it's not going to make it? And that happens to a lot of campaigns, I bet. And I'm not sure if there's a recovery method.
That's why I dedicated a show on my channel just to do that.
Well.
But as far as printing it, this is where it gets dicey to talk about. So this book has already been acquired by a publisher. Okay. So whereas my previous campaigns I was printing myself, this book is actually going to be printed by like professionals. I'm going to be buying the books from them wholesale and then sending them out. And I realized just now that saying that makes it sound like this is being published by one of those fake, not real publishers, like the ones that go like that advertise on the radio that they help you publish your book. Yeah. This is being put out by like an actual publisher. Like you'll probably be able to find it in a Barnes and Noble's kind of publisher. I just can't say who it is because I signed an NDA already.
Oh, okay. Well, with that being the case, what makes the Kickstarter version stand out from the one that people will be able to pick up off the shelf?
Well, it'll be signed. It's going to be getting a free mystery perk that I can't divulge without giving it away. You have the option of getting the Detective Zippo.
Oh, nice! It's a working Zippo.
Yep. I mean, I it's out of fuel because I smoke, but yep.
Very nice.
Yeah. You get a nice Detective Zippo with it because I don't think they had, stickers and patches back in the 20s, so I had to keep it, fitting.
I gotcha.
But there is an anachronism because Zippos weren't introduced until 1932, so.
What, they all used matches back then, I guess?
No, there were lighters around, and there were Zippo style lighters, but they looked like bullet casings. They were really thin, and they were very expensive. And so getting replicas of that would just be ridiculous.
I hear you. So yeah, there is a reason why people want to back the Kickstarter rather than just wait, because there is the extra, perk. You're not going to get a signed copy at your bookstore, for one thing, and for people who like to collect signed copies, like myself. And I'm glad I'm actually in a parallel situation to this, Josh, because we're publishing our book, the next volume of The Devil You Know, which is The Devil You Know Better. And we're going to do a Kickstarter on it, even though it's going to be published and in the traditional manner. But we've got Mike Barron and Hart Fisher are contributing stories to that anthology. So we're going to kickstart I say kickstart, we're probably going to Indiegogo. A signed a version that will come with signature card, where they'll both sign the same sticker, and the sticker will come with the book. You can put the sticker in the book yourself, or you can just keep it in the book if you want, and probably a bookmark will come with it, just to offset the costs of producing the book and paying all the writers and such. So it's not unheard of that you're kickstarting something that's going to be available through a traditional means shortly after, if certainly not before, right? I mean, we're not going to go through Walmart Rooster stuff again.
Yeah,
right?
no Red Rooster stuff. That's why I kind of have the estimated shipping date at June, because the book is going to be done well before that. It's just this is a process I haven't dealt with before. Sending a print file to a publisher, and then it's basically in their hands. So I set it pretty far out just in case there's something, I don't know, that could be a problem with their printer.
Yeah.
Part of it's a little bit stressful to not be in total control of that, but I think people are going to be getting a better product and be happy with it.
Right. So it's a $25 book. I'm guessing probably about $10 shipping. As thick as it is, it's 90 pages, so it's a pretty hefty size book. And you can get the featured tier for $25. That's it right there, just the book. I like the subtitle, just the facts. I've been listening to a lot of. In fact, I listen almost exclusively to old time radio now. So, I forget what the station's called, but it's like when radio was and all that other stuff. So,
yeah, no, we actually get that out here. We listen to it too.
Yeah, it's on Sirius XM. So, but Jack Webb was in a bunch of different shows, and he was always Jack Webb. Period. Yeah, that was no affectation. How that man got a career in radio doing voiceovers, I have no idea, because he never changed. He was Jack Friday, Joe Friday all the way through. I don't know who Jack Friday is, but. So I'm really, really into the noir detective stuff right now. And then you got Just the Facts Robot, because electronic, I guess.
Yep.
Because I know there were no robots back then. Well, I take that back. There were those chess playing automatons, because I did a story Windsor McKay in one of those. And then let's see, we have. You do have a couple of other tiers here, because you got you're getting the lighter combo, 24-hour sale. Is that passed yet? Is that over?
I'm just going to keep it up till the end of the day, I think. Oh man, unless somebody calls me out on it.
All right, so $25 for the book, $5 more for the for the stamped Zippo lighter that comes with it. You'll have to fuel it yourself because there's no way they'll let him mail it full of lighter fluid. So be prepared to go to Walmart or your local gas station and take care of that. And then you have your entire library here. $30 for the entire library in PDF form. That is
that is more than 200 pages by my rough estimation.
You got both Eudaimonia volumes, How to Die #1, which okay, so yeah, the last time you were on here was to promote How to Die, and I was like, I couldn't find the link to the Indiegogo. So, hey, Woody, glad to see you in the chat there, man. So I'm like, well, okay, I'm just going to go look him up on Twitter because he sent me the messages. And I typed in Twitter, How to Die.
Yep.
And Twitter comes back with all these.
Talk to someone.
Oh, I know. I'm like, no, that's not what I meant. I'm looking for the actual phrase. So Twitter's always watching out for us. If there's ever a big brother, it's Twitter. And I took a little heat from a friend of mine the other day because I mentioned that I got my, you get the emails from Twitter once a day. And it's like, hey, here's some tweets you missed. And it's like, the first tweet was, hey, the vaccinations are safe. The second tweet was, here's why the vaccinations are safe. And the third tweet was, did you know the vaccinations are safe? And then the fourth tweet was like, Kim Kardashian wore this. I was like, okay, 3 in a row. You might be overplaying things a little bit here, Twitter. Just one.
My favorite one was somebody replied to, there was like some tweet about how, I think it was Selena Gomez set her Instagram to private, and that was like big news. And somebody replied with, hey, there's a slave trade in Libya.
Yeah. Ooh. Oh man, that's based. Because we worry about all the wrong things, I think. Anyway, 5 books, 200 pages, $30 PDF. And you can also get, now what is this? This is a bundle of, you can get How to Die with it. Okay. I'm seeing 3 different covers here. So what is the difference on this $40 bundle?
Oh, you just get both of the variants. Yes. Sorry, wow. I totally don't have the Eagles game on in another tab, and I was just reacting to them scoring a touchdown. That would happen just now at all. So you get both variants of How to Die and NOIRLEM together.
All right. Very cool. 3 comics. 3 comics for $40. That's that's a deal. Do you have a retailer tier down here? I see you can get the 2-pack. There we are. Retailer bundle, $90 for 5. Okay, yes, definitely a deal. Wow. And somebody's already claimed one of those, so good deal there. We love to see the retailers getting involved with crowdfunding. I think more would do so if they just, were confident they could get the book sold. It's very, very, they're very risk averse a lot of the times. Because, they spent their entire career running stores with people telling them, this is going to be a bestseller, first number collector's issue, and then they put them in their dollar bins. Yeah. So, $25 books are not things you want to put in your dollar bin if you're a retailer. So
Table of sadness.
Yes. the I have to get rid of it or pay taxes on it or something. And then you can get all the books in their first edition versions for $120. This is Eudaimonia 1 and 2, How to Die 1 Splatter Edition, How to Die 1 Watercolor Edition, NOIRLEM, and you still get the Zippo. So $120 for this. This is pretty much the here's everything physically, and here's where I'm going to take you all the way over to my payment information and where I live and what my credit card is. So, thankfully, I've done that enough times. I know the credit card number doesn't show.
Well, fortunately, your stream kind of glitched out, so you sounded like Max Headroom for a minute. So.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, it's a different. See, when I'm home, I'm plugged in directly into the Ethernet cable. I don't have that problem.
No, you're fine now, and you're fine before it. It was literally just in that moment.
It's probably because it was pulling
sound-
just that extra bit of
Yeah.
internet to go to the next
Yeah,
page.
it sounded like you were screaming into an electric razor.
Oh, cool. I love that lighter. So this lighter is actually going to come in a little tin case here with a padded.
yeah.
Sweet.
I ordered these. I got these done, and I was like, my expectations were low because it was like $1.50 per lighter. And when they showed up and I saw that I had a big box of these, I was over the moon.
Yeah.
$1.50.
That's
So when other comic creators copy that and start doing that themselves, I'll be fine with that.
Yeah, because I don't think anybody's done a lighter.
Yeah. When there's a Cyberfrog Zippo.
I'm still waiting for Clint Holinsky and Mandy Summers to put out a Pirate Queen ink pen. You remember the old ink pens? I think they did some with Zippos.
Oh yeah. Where you
turn them upside down. And,
yeah.
They strip for you. I'm not saying that I or some of my friends might have had any of those devices at all when I was 12. Long time ago. Statute of limitations is well past anyway. So. So yeah, this is.
Okay, so that right there is the cover for the next project. At the end of every day, it's kind of like, you remember the movie Major League where they're peeling off the pieces for every win?
Yes.
So for every backer, another piece comes off. So at the end of each day, I'll update that with the full cover. So that's it right there with 37 pieces showing.
So we're gonna tomorrow. You got to get up and put another GIF up or another picture up here with another piece showing.
Yep. Well, I think we're at like 50 something. So we'll have to fix it later and get it posted.
I'm seeing elbow and frills and part of a nose. So you've left out all the good bits, which is a bit of a tease.
Unless
right
you like
there.
elbows.
Oh well, everybody's got their kink, right? No shaming from us here. So, okay, if I can quit glitching as I scroll here. And I forgot my question. But it's basically about the story. I mean, what events did you pull from to make the story? Like when I wrote Time Hunter: The Sideways Door, I was researching actual events in the time of New Orleans with the Royal Street Vampire Gang and things that were going on there. So how much realism is pulled into this story?
In this, I'm trying to think of how to answer that. There are a lot of names in the story, mostly from my favorite authors and artists from the Harlem Renaissance. So Detective J. Baldwin is a callback to James Baldwin, great writer. There's a character, this character with the last name Hurston. It's a reference to Zora Neale Hurston. Somebody references the character Banjo from Claude McKay's novel Banjo. So there are a lot of callbacks to literature. As far as real events, about the only thing I can come up with is at one of the pages there where you see Coleman punch the guy in the face. He has to give him a pack of frozen peas to put on his face, for the swelling afterwards when they make up. And the book takes place in 1929 because that's the year that frozen peas were introduced.
I remember that chapter of the History Channel's, with Birdseye. He invented the process for the freezing of the vegetables.
I will say that the second book right now, the tenuous title for NOIRLEM 2 is The Most Beautiful Suicide, which I don't know if that's a famous photograph. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't.
It was this woman back in, I think it was in the 20s, and she hurled herself out of a building, killed herself out of a skyscraper. But she landed in a car in this she landed on a car, but she was in this graceful pose. And she didn't even look dead. She looked like a kind of angelic figure lying on a car. And somebody took a photograph of her, and it's a very famous photograph titled The Most Beautiful, Yeah, The Beautiful Suicide or something to that effect.
I'm looking at it now. The Most Beautiful
Yeah.
Suicide. It was the tragic story of Evelyn McHale.
That is
Wow.
the story of the second book. I get into a little bit more historical stuff.
Somebody's even got a colorized one here without, like blood all over the place, which you would expect to have happen when somebody crashes through the hood of your car. And also pictures of apparently where she leapt from. And I'm looking over the cornice of this building with people standing around, and I'm like, my insides are wanting to crawl up even higher, because I'm not somebody who does well with heights.
Me either.
And
There's also another big thing in the second book is going to be like early forensic science. There's some stuff in there from that. Like it was like the pioneer of forensic science. And there was a case where the police officers found this guy dragging a torso to the docks to dump it into the ocean. And his landlord's legs were back in the house. And so he was arrested for murder. But this forensic scientist took one look at the body and said, this guy didn't kill her. And what happened is he was able to tell like immediately that she had died of some kind of gas leak in the house. Like he could just look at her and know that she died before she was cut up, and that the guy didn't really do anything. But all that happened is that the guy who took her body and was who cut it up and was trying to get rid of it, he just assumed that the police would think that he had killed her, so he wanted to get rid of the body. So he ended up just being charged with disposing of a body.
Yeah, desecration of a corpse. I don't even know that would be desecration, but definitely, wrongful disposal, which is probably what, a $50 fine. I don't know.
Well, it beats being hanged.
It definitely beats being hanged, because they still did that then.
Well, also the guy was slow, which is, I guess, how you would say it then.
Yeah, there's so many things that were happening in the past 100 years, or 100 years ago and such. And it seems like once you learn one thing that happened then, you see it in like 5 or 6 other places. I think the most recent one to me is H.H. Holmes and his murder palace in Chicago. Are you familiar with that story?
No.
H.H. Holmes built a hotel, and he basically hired, maids, and then they never came out again, because they were all in different rooms. I mean, every room was like just this torture.
It was like an elaborate house of horrors.
Yeah, exactly. And he was just killing them for their money. He'd get their money and put it in, the savings account. He was, banking their money for them, and then they would disappear. And that's how he kept, financing his lifestyle, was killing people for money. I don't know. I don't remember how many he finally got added up to his charge, but he was, definitely a serial killer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't remember the name at first.
And of course, the main villain in The Long and the Short of It, which we haven't explained why that subtitle is there, but they're going after a serial killer themselves, or is it just a spree killer or some other kind of killer?
It's the Hudson River Killer. He is a serial killer.
Okay, and that is a real. Is that pulled from reality, or is that one you made up?
It's one that I made up, but I did shamelessly borrow the Green River Killer from Dexter.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, but you borrowed it and then shoved it back in time. That's totally different.
Lorenzo, if you backed one book with a lighter and you want a second book, if you just get the double pack, I can just throw a lighter in there.
There you go.
I'm not going to not recognize your name. Hail, Nefarious.
Always good to have Nefarious show up in the chat, man. Glad you're here. So you studied the Harlem Renaissance a lot. Is that did you provide your artist with photographs so that they had the right kind of fashion plates to work off of for the characters?
Yeah, I mean, working with an artist is always tricky, and the amount that you have to kind of lead them in the right direction is going to change. But to answer your question, yeah, there was a lot of providing reference photos. Um, not a lot of women wore pants back then. Getting the geography of New York right, because um, the way you see New York represented oftentimes is the same areas over and over again. Like there's
Right.
skyscrapers everywhere.
Sure.
So getting that look and feel right for the day required a lot of research and a lot of references.
So I'm told that you're a very shady character. You may or may not have trapped Anthony Mackie in a book and disposed of Christine Benner's body.
I still don't know who Christine Venner is. We went over that on that show. I don't.
That's why God invented Google.
I just live with my ignorance.
I have no idea who she is either, because there's a lot of them. Now, it did try to suggest me Christine Venter when I first typed it up, but that is also of no help at all. You're going to have to explain the joke to us, Aaron, because we're lost. Robert's like, no, how many artist collaborations failed, and how did you finally get a project finished? What? Okay. Well, he's got 5 of them finished. We just went over them.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a good question, because you'd be surprised how many artists are really into doing work until they're under the gun and you're paying them and you have an expectation on them, and then they just kind of vanish like a fart in the wind.
Yeah, that sucks.
The process that I've kind of nailed down is to do a tryout. Have an artist do 1 page for you. Pay them what their regular rate for 1 page is, and if you get it and it's not what you're looking for, have another tryout. Keep looking. Same thing with colors. I had somebody color a page. They sent it to me. It looked terrible. I moved on to the next person, and I got Miriam Yasser, and she does amazing work.
Okay, so apparently Christine was a member of the chat. She
got
backed out of it, and now she's missing.
Now I remember. I'm sorry. We were over here looking for a famous person.
And the bonus question he has, yeah, we thought it was famous person, man. I mean, you paired it up with Anthony Mackie. Did Anthony Mackie buy the last book? I don't know. Bonus question: do you pay your artists for pages before the project is done? That can be dicey, because that's the whole point of crowdfunding in the first place, is to come up with the money to do that. But
yeah, I usually treat it just like if I have an artist, and I'm not going to have them do like 50 pages at a time. So they're just doing it in small chunks, and that way I can not be overwhelmed with invoices. And you get a finished page, you send, or I get a JPEG of a finished page. If I approve it, I pay for it, and then I get the TIFF file. So it's like give and take, no chance for anybody to rip anybody off. Keep payments and job portions small.
Yeah. You've got 1 page on here that is actually lettered, and this is the page that really reminded me of In the Heat of the Night and Sidney Poitier and all that. Even though it's not the same conversation at all, it's just the whole attitude of the thing, with the white detective coming out of the precinct, and he's like, how did you find me, Coleman Carmichael? A lot of precincts in Manhattan. And he's like, well, how did you find me, Jay Baldwin? A lot of black folks in Harlem. Well, I'm a detective, and it was just like so condescending. He's like, yeah, but I'm a detective. And Coleman says, well, so am I. I think that really sets up his character, because he's not belligerent about it. He's just like, do you realize how much of a dumbass you are now?
Well, the other thing is he's not a detective. At the beginning of the book, he is a teacher. He tutors kids for money, and he learns wherever and whenever he can. So this book is the story of him actually coming into fruition and him becoming a detective.
So he's observant, though, and he can apply what he knows to what he sees.
Yeah, he's just a consummate learner who has a knack for deductive reasoning.
Now, are these two going to work together? I mean, you said they have an arc, so we're going to have more stories with these two working together.
They do. They work together. it is not the kind of thing where one of them needs to be led by the hand by the one who just knows everything. They both have their strengths and weaknesses. They play off of each other. Sometimes one of them is right, and sometimes the other one is right. You know, it's give and take. It's not like a one-sided partnership.
Yeah. Now, of course, with this being set in and around Harlem, um, Harlem and the rest of New York at that time was pretty much a hardline racial segregation kind of thing.
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of play out of the friction of that?
It's not something done carelessly or without. It's not something that's just done haphazardly, and it's not something that's done to beat anybody over the head with anything. It's more trying to just kind of instill the reality of the world.
Yeah.
It's done with, I think at least, like some sympathy and some dignity. And so what I did is the detective Jay Baldwin, he's a good character, right? But he's also a little bit naive. And so over the course of the book, the realities for Coleman are things that he gets confronted with some of the time. And he has to almost experience it because they develop a friendship and he sees exactly what the world is like through the events of the narrative. And so that by the end, the nature of the world makes for a almost unfair kind of an ending, because I don't think it's really giving away anything to say that they solved the mystery, but Noir is filled with tropes of there being nothing is really simple, right? Everything is really complex. So at the end, when they solve the mystery, the reality is that due to the nature of the world, Coleman can't take any of the credit for it. Jay has to take all of the credit because that's just how the world is. And so that's it's a happy but also tragic ending.
Yeah, that Noir always ended with yeah, we solved it, sure wish we hadn't kind of
yeah, so it's like bittersweet. And so Coleman has to explain this to Jay, who's a little bit naive, because Jay wants them to go to the station house and collect their reward, and Coleman has to say, no, go get your prize. I can't be a part of this anymore. And so it's like bittersweet.
Yeah, I was I know that Jay is a detective for the police. He's a police detective, not a knock on my door and help me find your missing cat detective. And Coleman's a teacher and a tutor and everything. So that's how they get their how they live, what they get to live off of. I heard I hear a lot of the stories where like a detective just goes to visit somebody and finds out the person is dead, and now he's working on the case, and the police don't want him. And I'm like, who's paying you to do this?
Yeah.
How do you make money off of this deal here? So I'm glad to see that part's covered. I'm also glad that you said they learn from each other, and that sometimes Jay is right and sometimes Coleman's right, because Coleman's going to be observant. He's learned, but Jay is a trained detective. He's going to know procedures and how to get things to how to get things through the system and everything. So I think they're going to make.
So I'll give you a really good example. This page right here is the title of the chapter is Between Two Worlds, and a lot of the themes of the chapter is that for Coleman, the world is separated into two worlds, and he has to live in between them. But then later, there's a callback to that moment when Coleman kind of goes in on Jay for how the police department is and how they're holding meetings, and then they don't have the time for this, and Jay has to come back and say, hey, listen, you have your worlds, this one's mine, and if it weren't for this mess of a world, you wouldn't have any idea about these this killer that we're tracking down. So it's like a give and take. It's not just like a one-sided thing.
Yeah, and I can imagine there's so much. I wouldn't want to write this if it were me, because there's so many landmines in this, And if you try to do it realistically, then you're still going to step on some of them. Like you're going to have your racist cops, you're going to have your falsely arrested black people from Harlem and that kind of thing. And it's just, especially right now, people would look at that kind of thing. Say, another one again? Seriously? How did you navigate that?
I did that by trying to focus on the fact that the story is about two good people trying to do good and focusing on the things that they have in common rather than their differences.
Wow. Why can't everybody do that?
I can't answer that. I can only do my best.
You can only deal with the fictional world that you've created, not the real one, which is a bigger mess. Yeah. All right. Well, I don't know what more to ask about this book because it's intriguing. I like the setting. I like the characters. I love the art. I want to know more. I want to read this. I want to see this mystery play out. I almost want to take up smoking so I can get one of these Zippo lighters, but I don't. So,
hey, you never know when you're going to be tied to a chair.
This is true. That's when pull it out of your pocket and burn your wrist while you're melting the rope off. But it's okay. I know when I'm tied to a chair, you just kind of like jump around a little bit until you fall over, and chairs splinter all the time when you do that.
Plus, you'll probably have a safe word if that ever comes up.
Oh, well, yeah, of course. You never let the bad guy tie you up without a safe word. Mine is always harder for some reason, but it's a bad joke. So are you going to take this to the other platform? Like the Kickstarter when you're done, or you're just going to do the
I don't
Indiegogo?
know. I think I might wait until I have books in hand and just make, you know what I mean? Because I think it would be in bad taste to be shilling this to another audience while I have backers who haven't gotten their book yet. You know what I mean? Like, that's just for me. Like, that's just a bridge that I take a lot of care in before I cross.
Yeah. I will say I just refreshed the stream, and you went from 2085 to 2280. So the $200 has happened since we started the show here. That is our shake and bake moment.
It's shake and bake, and I help.
Yeah.
Sorry, I laughed harder than I probably should have. My wife has to have something on in the room when we go to sleep at night, and for the past week it's been classic or vintage commercials, which is like great to fall asleep to.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you're never gonna find yourself like paying attention to it at all. It's just perfect background stuff. And so like that commercial, that shake and bake commercial, I was like, oh, time to go to bed.
Yeah, that's anytime somebody helps the campaign. And by the way, our rule is if it goes up during our show, we did it. It could be just anybody browsing Indiegogo and doing it, as long as they do it between 7 and 9. That was us. So it's not I helped. It's whoever did the backing help. So whoever was in the chat and decided to back this, we assume you were in the chat. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Well, I've been telling this is my, I don't know, 10th or 12th stream in the last 2 days. And I've been telling everybody, like, the reason why we're here is because of people like you who have us on, who support us, who let us get the word out to people. So I hope you're appreciated.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. I mean, I don't have I tell the cast, the cast in the chat, that I don't have a show if they don't show up, but I have even less of one if you guests don't show up and use our outlet to push your books. I hear all the time that we're one of the least watched streams in all of comics crowdfunding, and yet people keep coming to us and asking to go on, so we keep doing it.
There it is.
So we must be doing something right, and one day it'll be one of those things where it was slowly at first and then all at once, and suddenly people will be watching us. I've noticed a pickup after the first of the year, so I'm kind of optimistic about that. I have no idea what I asked for, but I'm always glad to have Doc Holliday Nefarious volunteering. So you gotta do some more karaoke, Neff. haven't seen you do a karaoke stream in ages, it feels like, and I've actually got a catalog now of songs. I'm like, yeah, I might do that on Neff's show the next time he does over on the Global Frequency. Yeah, Joshua, if you haven't been to the Global Frequency during Saturday nights, all right, for singing, you absolutely must. In fact, I've enjoyed it so much that I've got to set it up soon. I'm going to set up a Saturday night or Sunday night show called Sing for Your Supper. And we're just going to have like a couple of different guys on who are campaigning. And then if anybody gets a backer during the show, that backer in the chat says, hey, it's me. I was backer number 62. And we're like, yep, there's 62. They get to request a song and you, the campaigner, has to sing it.
What if you don't know the song?
Well, we have to, go back and ask for another one. But,
okay.
But no matter what it is, if they ask for like Barbie Girl, then you have to find, we'll find a track, we'll load it up, and we'll go to town. Just something to be fun.
All right.
It sounds like, I know that the ladies over at Indie Volt have the backer shots, which is the same concept, except that, every time somebody gets a backer and the chat says, hey, I'm the backer, here, I'm confirmed, then all the ladies have to take a drink. So, what a great way to back the book by getting a bunch of ladies drunk on stream.
Yeah.
Turn into a drinking game. Nobody wants to see me get drunk on stream, so we're just going to.
No, but you could do it with hot wings.
Ooh, yeah. Except the real fun of that show comes after the show's over because they don't burn so much going in as they do coming out, and YouTube won't let me put that on.
Yeah. You can put on.
All right. Yeah, we can. I won't have a hot tub on Twitch. I'll have just the toilet itself.
Yeah, there you go.
And yeah, he's right. Karaoke has the words on the screen, so you can just kind of read along and try to sing it. Because you'll see it on the screen there as you're. And if you get a really good karaoke, it highlights the words as they're being hit. So I don't find a lot of good karaokes. Anyway. Joshua, thank you for bringing NOIRLEM onto our stream tonight. Did you take any heat at all for the title itself? I mean, that's an interesting portmanteau there you've got going on.
Sorry,
Josh?
I turned into a robot again.
Oh, I was asking if you took probably because I was reloading the page again. I was asking if you took any kind of jabbing for the title of the book because of the portmanteau that you're pulling off between Noir and Harlem.
You know what? I was worried about it, but the publisher didn't seem to have a problem with it. So, and plus, like, look at my name here, Eudaimonia. I get enough heat for that. So I don't know if people just saw NOIRLEM and they actually thought it was more coherent than Eudaimonius. They're just like, all right, yeah. NOIRLEM it is.
He's moved into something we can actually say. So. Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for bringing NOIRLEM onto the stream tonight. We do appreciate it. Keep doing what you're doing with the great books. This one definitely looks like one that I'm going to want to read. I'm going to read this. I'm going to get this one backed. So it's going on. Usually this is the point where I bring my phone up and I'm just like, hey Siri, remind me on day this to give money to that. And everyone here is on the stream. Boop. Okay, your reminder has been set. But since I'm home for the weekend, my son has my phone to play his Minecraft and his other things and watch YouTube poop. I have no idea what that is, but apparently it is a thing, and I don't want to know anymore. So when I get the phone back, I'll put that reminder out there.
All right.
You supposedly cut off a poor man's toe for your book.
I'm a shady character.
I hear that. I'm hearing that way too much now. But all from the same person, so it still only counts as one. Hey, Pops, you're here for the leaving. This one grew. It grew some during the show, Pops. I'm always happy when that happens. Makes me feel like I'm actually contributing to something to someone somewhere. And if you were doing this out of Ireland or Austria, I'd keep you on after the show and say, hey, let's talk about your distribution channels because that's where I come in and make my money. But you're not. So want to, we still can, but. I won't push it. Yes, I said portmanteau. Not Passepartout. That was the little guy in Around the World in 80 Days. Portmanteau. Oh, ha ha ha. Yeah, I know. It's me. I'm a very slow on the uptake person sometimes, and I'm really, really tired tonight because I didn't sleep a whole lot well last night. Drove most of it, so anyway.
Well, you're on the road.
Yeah, I was on the road, and I was listening to. Keep saying watching. I was listening to YouTube streams, so I get to listen to a lot of you guys, and I found out that you can just kind of tap on a little microphone and say your chats into the chat stream if you speak very slowly. Period, and then send
That
them
might
off.
explain the portmanteau.
It might. All right, folks in the chat, thank you so much for showing up. We do not have a show without you being here. And